showing off the sky right now. It's pretty overcast. So I woke up to a dream this morning about a tree in my neighborhood. Very random. But the dream was pretty vivid, so I thought I'm gonna go ahead and take a walk over to that tree today. It's just pretty overcast today. If you look down in the distance, the tallest tree that you're looking at is the one we're going to. I'm gonna film the whole street so you can see all the other trees, because this street is quite beautiful. I've always felt like it was beautiful. I've loved jogging it. But this particular dream that I had, I was jogging and everything seemed and appeared normal, but this one particular tree was glowing. It stood out and it was glowing and pulsating. The tree was drawing me to it. Now, for over 10 years, I have jogged this street. So I've jogged under this tree many times, and I've always thought it was beautiful. Right now, on my walk to the tree, you can see here, this is a little baby maple. Pretty colorful. Pretty typical American street here. Up ahead, this tree right here, why didn't I have a dream about this tree? Like, this is the tree I should have dreamed about, this sugar maple right here. It is ancient, but we'll get back to that later. But still, look at this tree. Look how beautiful it is. Why was my dream not about this tree? I don't get it. This is literally the oldest tree on the block. But anyways, we're moving on. We're gonna follow our dream here to the other tree. I love streets like this where the sidewalk is just all like cracked and damaged and you got the fall leaves down on it. I don't know why. I find that so beautiful. We'll get back to this tree as well. It's an old oak tree. Can't pass this little guy up. So he might be the smallest tree on the block. That is not a reliable indication when it comes to this guy right here. This is a Japanese moonrise maple. He is definitely glorious in his own right, and old. That's an old one. Now, I'm going to pause the video right here for a second. This maple tree has been fully grown for at least 80 to 100 years. You can tell by all of those trunks and the width of those trunks. To the Japanese, maple trees in particular are a symbol of luck and blessings. But to get even more specific, this tree, the moonrise maple, is actually a symbol of impermanence. Like a reminder that everything has a beginning and an ending. And that's what the Japanese believe. Every year in the fall, in Japan, people go on a red leaf hunt. I don't know the word. Actually, I do know the word in Japanese that they have for it. It's just that I don't want to butcher it. So in English, it means red leaf hunt. And every year, this moonrise maple tree delivers with brilliant red leaves that you can't see right now. They believe in kodama. Kodama translates to tree spirits in English. These kodamas inhabit a tree and they protect the area. The kodama's life force is directly tied to the tree that it inhabits. So when one dies, so does the other. The older a tree becomes, the more likely it will be home of a kodama. And these ancient guardian spirits, they can beckon you to either blessings or curses. Now, this Japanese belief that spirits live in nature is strongly tied to forest bathing. And in Japan, it involves being mindful of nature's spiritual presence. They call it the shimbokus, the old trees. They actually wrap them in sacred rope to show that they are home to a kami spirit and can be admired, which the admiration appeases the kodama inside. We've passed so far a couple of trees that are over 100 years old. Okay, now that you know that, let's get back to the video. If you look straight ahead, you'll see a green apple tree. It's about 65 feet. Now in front of that is an even taller tree, and that was the tree I dreamed about. It's an American sycamore, and we're gonna get up close to it over here. See, there's the leaves of that sycamore tree. They're all over the place. This house is actually surrounded by these old trees. And here is two other sycamores. So this is a 90-foot sycamore tree. Very old and beautiful. I was trying to get it to the right tint here, but I just went back to what it was because it looks green on my camera, but it's not green, that's white. So American sycamores this tall and this old are actually pretty rare. Now, Native Americans in this area had a similar idea as the Japan with the kodama and the spirits of these trees, and particularly with the sycamore tree. They warned white settlers to not cut these trees down because they inhabit a place that's in between the living and the dead, and they harbor a spirit. Some white men didn't listen, and some did. As you could see, this one lived to tell the tale. If you look at the way the bark is peeling off, it ends up displaying green or brown underneath before it gets to white. And that is an indication that it is an American sycamore and not a river birch tree. River birch also peels its bark in a different way. All right, and if you look here, it's got lichen on the tree, which is an indication of lack of air pollution in the area. So lichen doesn't grow where there's air pollution. So remember that. That's a sign to let you know the air you're breathing lacks pollution. I wish I could get the scale of this tree on camera. It's really hard for me. Across the street is a sugar maple. Pretty old. Again, not the tree I dreamed about though. Now I'm just looking at the leaves. I find it very beautiful. And that's another Japanese thing where they believe in the spirits inside the leaves. The spirit of the leaves is what they call it. I'm not 100% sure why I dreamed about this tree and why I felt drawn to come here to do this. It is pretty close to the sidewalk and that power line. And trees of this scale, it's going to be considered a category 4 tree because they put trees in categories. And a category 4 is supposed to be 50 feet from the power line, and these ones are obviously not. So hopefully its only enemy, the human, doesn't cut it down anytime soon. Check out this beautiful one. It's not as tall as my kodama, but it is very beautiful. I lucked out with it being overcast today, so that sun isn't shining through it. Perfect timing to do a video right now. Now I found a piece of it shedding, which I thought was pretty cool. It's a little thicker than paper. Again, another sign that it's not birch. Birch has a paper thin peel. This one's a little thicker than that. And I was not sleeping on this beautiful leaf. Look at that bright color. It is holding on. All right, there in the background, look at that glorious oak tree. These people are very blessed. This is like my dream, to be surrounded by 100-year-old trees. That's the goal. Found another peeling, but I find that this one is kind of more pretty and more interesting. I'm keeping it. It's mine. I'll figure something out to do with it. Pretty leaf. I'm just thinking about the amount of times I have jogged under this tree. And all the different outfits I jogged in, just the pure struggle I had about this time, because it's kind of in my jogging, route, because everybody forms a route. It was right around this tree that I become extremely exhausted and had to push through. So my cute little jogging outfits were completely soaked in sweat and halfway hanging off of me by the time I was jogging under this tree. If there is a point in your jogging session that you become ugly and you just let loose all your ugly, it was under this tree for me. But more importantly, it is the moment for me that I had to push myself, that I had to let go of all my thoughts and really push through and accept the pain I was feeling physically. There's that apple tree, but we'll get back to it. So here is a good shot to show you. Oh, it looks like I decided that I was going to film this. Okay, ADHD moment. I like the way those look when the wind blows, I'm not going to lie. But we'll get back to the tree here in a second.
3, 2, 1.
There he is in all his glory, the mighty sycamore. So in the Bible, Zacharias used the sycamore tree as a ladder to view Jesus, to see Jesus. So it's quite significant, and I feel a lot of stories, the sycamore. But this one in particular, from here, what in the world? Okay, so I randomly decided that I needed to film this. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if I'll cut this or not. I'm so tired of editing. Okay, so the sycamore here, you should be able to see the scale against the house. So normally, a 3-story house, which is what this house is, it sits between 30 and 40 feet. So that should give you an idea of how tall this sycamore tree is. And remember, it's rare to be this big and this tall, because like I said previously, white settlers came in and really loved the wood from the sycamore, and they would cut them down for their houses. So it's rare to see a sycamore at this scale. It's just hiding away, tucked away on a little tiny street in tiny little West Virginia town. He survived. But to me, this tree represents that pain I felt in my jog. And it's not a pain that I hated. I enjoyed once I got to that point of feeling that pain, because I knew that just around the corner was going to be that runner's high, so that numbness. But it also represented to me that I was going in the right direction, that I was doing the right thing, that I was pushing my body just a little bit further, and I felt like I was doing the right thing. So that's what that pain represents to me. And it was this tree right around this time was when I would feel it from that, because it's like an incline in my routine up the hill to this tree. So it felt good that I was doing something right for my body. I kept pushing forward. And that's what this tree represents for me. Going through the pain because you know it's the right thing to do. And really that's about it. That's about all I've ever thought about this tree. That's the only significance I could think of. I have no idea why I had a dream about this tree. But I am confident in knowing not everybody has the ability to be able to feel that pain and push through to success. I wanted to walk you back over here. So right there's the sycamore, and right here is a little tiny tree. This tree's actually really old. This is an elm, and he's not as big. This is another elm here in the neighborhood. If you look, he's actually situated right beside this really, really old oak tree, kind of sitting under his canopy, which elms normally do. Oak trees produce acorns. There is this old folklore about how many acorns an oak tree drops in a year. It's basically, if it drops in abundance, like a mass quantity, that means you're going to have a hard winter. It doesn't look like this tree's tried that hard this year, so maybe we'll have an easy winter. But let's get back to the elm trees. What's really extraordinary about these two elm trees is how old they are. They are actually old enough that they survived and had their own pandemic. They basically had their own COVID, which means you have something in common with them. In the 1930s, a tree disease called the Dutch elm disease killed over 100 million elm in the United States alone. It's spread by the elm bark beetle. The beetle was actually brought to the Americas via shipments of elm log from Europe. This beetle originated from China, just like COVID, and in Europe it was actually the Dutch who first spotted it in the Netherlands in 1910. It was actually brought by infected logs from China. Since the Dutch was the first to spot it, the Dutch got to name it. The epidemic was so bad that it nearly wiped out every single elm tree in the world, nearly making the elm tree extinct. And the Dutch elm disease is actually still killing trees to this day. You can see young elm trees all across the US, but pre-1930s elm is something special. This disease actually altered the landscape of Europe and the US, and it caused a huge negative impact on wildlife. The elm tree continues to decline here in West Virginia. In West Virginia alone, there has been decades of research with the idea of a cure in mind for these trees. They've been monitoring the use of different chemicals for over 30 years to try to find a cure for them. And state foresters, they actually go out into our forests and they look for pre-1930s elm in hopes that studying them could lead to a genetic resistant cure. Actually, the Forest Service in Morgantown is big in the involvement of that research. You're not required to report Dutch elm disease here in West Virginia, but it is strongly recommended, and I'm sure any West Virginian that knows it when they see it will report it. It's pretty easy to spot, and honestly, there are hundreds of YouTube videos on how to recognize it. It's been a really long battle when it comes to the Dutch elm disease, just like it's going to be with COVID. But the elms here on this street must have really strong genetic makeup because they survived it. But enough about that disease. This right here, that what we've been looking at, it looks like I'm recording the base of it right now. This is a maple. So I've been talking about that disease the entire time I filmed this maple. I apologize about the sound of the stadium in the background. I actually enjoy it. It's a sound of home for me. The neighborhood comes to life when it's football season, or soccer season, or lacrosse season, or track season. Basically any sport. I'm just used to it. One of the perks of living next to the stadium is that you know every sports season. And honestly, it gives the street character. Right now, I am under the canopy of the apple tree that's on the street. The apples aren't bloomed out too much, but what interests me about this apple tree is the fact of its size, because modern apple trees have been genetically altered to be a lot shorter. This guy right here is really tall and old. So if you think about it, this is an extremely rare apple tree. They don't exist this tall and vast anymore. Here I was trying to figure out if this was possibly a pear, and yeah, I don't know. I think I stared at it for too long. But I think that it is safe to say, with the size of this tree, that Johnny Appleseed was the one who planted it. He actually planted most of the apple trees here in the northern counties of West Virginia. So he's a huge part of our history. It was when him and his brother was traveling via the Ohio River. Fun fact, only female trees actually produce seeds. And all maple trees have what I call helicopter seeds, as you can see here. Their actual name are samaras. Some regions of the world call them whip-whips or whirlybirds. But since I was a little girl, they've always been just helicopter seeds to me. Got some lichen there. Beautiful lichen too. If you look inside the bark too, you'll see that it's red. That's a indication of a Japanese maple. They almost all have red bark inside. It's another beautiful lichen. Some maples only have one seed instead of two, but this moonrise maple is double-winged. They are called helicopter seeds because they spin as they fall, mimicking the rotor blades of a helicopter in flight. It's pretty cool. And the wing shape is designed to create lift and spin as it descends. The spin allows that seed to travel further from the parent, so it doesn't have to compete for resources like sunlight and water. There are other trees that have samaras, like the ash or elm tree, but they're single-winged. There's one on the street somewhere. He's single-winged. He's got single-winged samaras. Okay, here I'm going to speed up the video because I am attempting to show you how this mimics a helicopter, or a helicopter mimics it. Okay, so I have now crashed several helicopters. I give up and I accept that I'm a bad pilot.
I can't get it on video.
Could blame it on the strong wind that we're having today. These samaras are too small to influence that strong airflow. It's too fast for my little helicopters to slow that drag from the air moving past. So, gravity wins today. This is the oak tree. Right behind it, you can see a baby maple. You can tell by its leaves. Its leaves are different. Now, a maple and an oak tree can grow together. The maple can kill the oak because it's fast growing. But however, if the oak is much larger than the maple, they actually can coexist, just like we're seeing here. So the maple might be quick-witted and selfishly resourceful, but that oak's slow pace has strengthened its sense of wisdom when it comes to sunlight and water. So it's the one who chooses to share. You know, it's an ideal situation to have the slow to process, wise one in charge versus the charming, quick-witted, selfish one. Because you know that the wise one is going to share, even though it doesn't have to. Okay, let's go to the sugar maple. This should have been my kodama. It's very old. I want to say it's older than 300 years, but they normally don't live that long. Sugar maples are fairly easy to estimate the age because of the predictable growth rate. It just requires a little math, or you could borse or chop it down and count the rings. Anyways, I got the tree circumference and I did the math. And this tree is around 168 years old. Sugar maples have the best syrup, and I bet you this guy has the best maple syrup. It's also the most expensive wood you can get. Look at her beautiful texture. Very old, peeling away, just gorgeous. You actually can't tap for maple until they're 40 years old. Well, at least that's true for the sugar maple here. Here's some of its leaves. That's a sugar maple. There's some leaves from other trees here too. They're just gorgeous. That's a sugar maple. It's pretty easy to identify. Alright, so I found a single propeller wing here. So there is an ash or an elm somewhere around here. Fun fact, it's called a sugar maple because its syrup produces more sugar versus other maple trees. And it's also West Virginia's state tree. I can feel a strong wind coming, so I'm going to wait here and see. Okay, it turns out that it wasn't that I couldn't make the helicopter fly. It's just that I was at the wrong altitude. Because look at these little babies fly in the wind up there. We're just at the wrong elevation. They're doing fine up there. I was trying to capture it on video, but they are going pretty fast and the wind is pretty strong today. So fly, little babies, fly. If they get pollinated, they're gonna get weed-eated while they're still saplings. Just sad. It's a pity. I should have stayed with your mama. The stadium's actually playing Pour Some Sugar on Me right now, which I find funny because of the sugar maple. But 168 years old. That puts her back to the year of 1857. And this was actually still Virginia. This actually, the name of our town changed from Middletown to Fairmont. This is pre-Civil War time, but she was a sapling when the war was beginning. There was a rising tension over slavery and us West Virginians was against it, while Confederacy was still favored in Virginia. This is what ultimately split us away from Virginia. It was through the help of a Fairmont man, Francis Pierpont. He worked with Abe Lincoln to emancipate this area from Virginia. In his diary, he spoke how he traveled to the South and was horrified by how slaves were treated. He vowed to be against it. He was just a good man. His house is actually just a few blocks from here. I wonder if he ever rode his horse past this tree. I know that he didn't tap it because it wasn't 40 years old yet. I'm happy that this street is not covered in horse poop anymore. Geez, I bet it really stunk back then. Mr. Pierpont ended up becoming known as the father of West Virginia. This street even has bamboo on it. There's definitely a Japanese theme over here, I feel like. I don't know why, I just feel like maybe she might be older than 168. I'll have to come back and measure it again just to be sure, because I just feel like she's older. And keep in mind it's an estimate, because you really can't tell the age of a tree unless you chop it down. Now, think of the irony of being born right before a civil war and dying right before the next one. You could call that pure poetry from God, or you could call it irony, because maple trees only live to about 300 years, so she's almost there. And this beautiful guy right here, I did not give a proper look at earlier when I was walking to my kodama. But you can tell he's old. He's gotta be between 80 to 100 years old. He's got some lichen, and look at that alligator flesh bark. Very deep crevices. All right, this is the end of the street. This is the moment that I thought the video was over, but then I found this. If you look at the bottom here, it looks like an animal already got to it, but this lichen is beautiful because it is a world within a world. It's a complex miniature ecosystem. Fungus, algae, bacteria, and they all live together. It is not a single organism, and each one benefits from the other's presence. Lichen is extremely slow growing, but it can speed up if the air quality is right, and this is a pretty young tree here. They are extremely sensitive to pollution. So you won't see them growing in industrial areas, and like I said previously, their presence serves as a valuable air quality indicator for you. There is 3 types of lichen: flat, ones that flower out, and hairy, fuzzy, mossy looking ones, which it seems like we might have all 3 right here on this tree. Some uneducated people think that it harms the tree, but it doesn't. In fact, it is packed with antioxidants, vitamins, it has antibacterial properties, and it's anti-inflammatory. So it's basically medicine for the nearby wildlife, like deer, squirrels, and even raccoons have been spotted munching down on them. So, shifting our perspective and seeing lichen as what it is, versus seeing it as something unappealing to the eye or something to just wash off the tree, it could help these little miniature worlds continue to serve the trees, the wildlife, and humans. And remember, they are an indicator of the health of the surrounding environments. I can honestly go on and on about lichen, but I won't do that right now. I'll just move on. As I was filming the lichen, I noticed these pigeon feathers all over the place. They like to perch on the wires that are next to the Little Caesars that is in this area. But I just so happened to catch on video a crow trying to eat one of them mid-air. We have crows and ravens in this area, and if you live in an area that has them, you will know that both are equally pests. The crows are what attracts the ravens in this area. They like to eat the crow eggs. In the fall, you notice a lot more of them here, but I feel like all the people in the area have gotten wiser to them and have secured things like their trash can and stuff. So now, I mean, they don't have any food from the people, so all they can eat is the birds that are in our area. All right, here's his attempt at trying to kill these birds. In the background, you can hear the sounds of the stadium, and honestly, that sounds like home to me. I lived so close to the stadium for so long, that's just home. And he flies away in defeat. They're perching back onto the wire. We actually have a lot of mourning doves in the area. I don't want you to think it's only pigeons. It's just not mating season for them right now, and they normally are here during mating season. These roses here, first of all, shouldn't be bloomed out this late in the season, but they are glowing, and I tried my best in editing to take that glow away from them, and it just wasn't happening. They are glowing. I ended up looking up from the roses and seeing this really cool old Ford, which I think is, I'm a Ford person, so I thought it was pretty cool. If you listen in the background right here, you can hear the crows plotting. I forgot to mention to you guys that these roses are in the poop zone. We are right under these pigeons in the poop zone. So I thought I'd share that. As soon as I put my camera down, that's when that crow went after these birds again. At first, I thought I had spooked the birds. They're gonna try to perch here in a second, but the wind kind of stops them from doing it. And success. Pros in aerodynamics. Okay, so that is pretty cool, but I can't film anymore because I need to get out of the poop zone as fast as I can. Anyway, check out these pretty leaves I got. We're gonna take these home and we're going to identify them. And for all my haters, here is a dog pea mushroom, just for you. Delicioso. Okay, so I'm back home. Well, that took longer than I expected. Turned into an unexpected but pleasant little outing for me. I've been a nature lover for as long as I can remember. I haven't been able to hike for a while recently. Gotta get some coffee here. But I haven't been able to hike recently. But you can't change who you are. So the hiker came out of me today. All of this because of the dream I had standing with that sycamore. I had meant to make a short little video about the sycamore, but I got really distracted by all the beautiful trees we have here in the neighborhood. Now I am stuck during a long voiceover. I've been trying not to run out of things to say, so I'm gonna try to identify and point out the features of each tree leaf that I picked up. I am no pro at this, but I'll try to point out what I know. This is an oak. He's got sinuses, but he's young versus this older one who looks like he's got a couple V's, but it's just because he's wilted. Oh, I brought home some samaras so I can try to make them fly. I don't know if I'll be able to or not though. Alright, looks like I'm about to show you the elm. So an elm is an oval shaped leaf. If you look down here, there's a central spine that goes from the bottom all the way to the top. They alternate, so they don't grow side by side. They grow one at a time. This one right here is double serrated. I think that's what I'm trying to show you. Alright, we're going to go ahead and mark them. Okay, we got our sugar maple, scarlet oak, moonrise maple, the American elm, the apple tree, and this guy, I could not figure out what he was. I kept hitting a lot of dead ends, and I just could not figure out what he was. He's also not, at his peak age. He's definitely dying, so that didn't help. But I think that I'm going to go ahead and go back and check out some more features like his bark. Alright, round 2. Got to go back to that tree and see more details of it to try to figure out what it is. In the background here, you can hear the sounds of the stadium. There's a football game going on. Fun fact, during COVID, no one was allowed inside the stadium. So when they had football games, only the coaches and the teammates were allowed inside the stadium. So me and somebody else would sit right here and we would go to the store and we would get snacks from Sheets and then come back and sit down on that wall. It would be freezing outside and we would sit there and listen to the game. The scoreboard is visible from right here. That is one of my COVID stories. Alright, here we are. We made it. We got to take a closer look at this beautiful specimen of a tree. See if we can try to find something that indicates what it is. I feel like I can't tell if this is going to be a flower, a berry, or a fruit of some kind. Alright, update guys. To my disappointment, I found out that this is most likely going to be a type of dogwood. I tried to find out what type, but I kept hitting dead ends. I do know that the berries or the cherries that this tree produces makes a mess on the sidewalk sometimes. I'm going to wait for them to bloom out again, and then I'll know for sure. But she is old. Dogwoods can live up to 80 years, but can go a little longer in the right conditions. I think that it is safe to say that she's at least in her 80s. She's beautiful, but I am not impressed by dogwoods. They're pretty common, but also I dislike them even more because of all of the false myths around them. Christians have put a curse on this tree. And they also tend to unknowingly worship this tree. There's this ancient rumor about it being the wood for Jesus' crucifix, but nowhere in the Bible does it say that. It's just some kind of poetic rumor that was started thousands of years ago. A rumor that caught wind and never stopped sailing. It's probably the oldest conspiracy theory on Earth. It's an ancient conspiracy theory that has no facts to back it up. The Bible doesn't say what wood was used. Now, this poor, beautiful tree is cursed with this ridiculous rumor. I guess humans are still not evolved enough to see things for what they are instead of what they want it to be. Now, Christians also made a connection to Jesus on the cross and the flower that blooms out from this tree. I will confess that that connection is pretty poetic and beautiful, but it does not solidify a curse being placed on this tree. Anyways, I'm going to stop ranting about this stupid ancient curse and try to give this poor tree some good vibes that are not a response from a foundational belief that it's cursed. We humans have cursed and shamed things since the time of Adam and Eve, when God allowed us to feel shame. Instead of learning from that, we have weaponized shame from the beginning. Almost the entire Bible is people cursing and shaming each other. And even in the Bible, no one weaponized it more than the Christians themselves. It's crazy what most of them believe. With a clear conscience, they curse and shame others, kind of similarly to sociopaths. Not all of them, but definitely the Bible thumpers do. And then they go back on Sunday, every Sunday, with their arms raised. Moral of the story, most Christians are masterminds when it comes to shame and curses. In psychology, so are sociopaths. That being said, this tree does not have a single curse on it. It grows the way it's supposed to grow, and it always has, the way God intended from the beginning. This was not the wood used for the crucifixion. That is a stupid rumor. I am not trying to offend anybody. This is just my opinion, my observation. I do believe in Jesus, and I also know that there's also a good amount of good Christians out there. But I do hope that you guys feel inspired to go out and dig a little deeper about the trees in your neighborhood or in your town. Maybe visit a park. Remember, we breathe in what they breathe out. So we need one another. We are connected. We're both earthlings. So they should be respected. I hope you find some kodamas out there. And happy forest bathing.